Is it finally the time to say that Destiny truly is dead? No, I honestly think Sony's gonna do a better job than Bungie.
It's crazy to think that it's almost been 10 years since the first Destiny game came out, all the way back in late 2014.
How time flies. How time flies. I don't want to remember that time when I was young. I'm 30. There's sand seeping off me at this point.
And one would think that despite trials and tribulations, Destiny 2, with the final shape launching and the great reception surrounding it, that it'd be in a better place than ever, that the IP would continue to thrive. But lately,
I mean, they made the IP extremely, extremely not masculine and, well, gay. So that's a huge problem. Imagine how far Destiny could go as a game if it wasn't all of those things. If it was just a game, not a political message. Imagine.
based on news that's been coming out and reports and recent developments, it seems as though Destiny is actually kind of winding down. Now, Destiny isn't shutting down, it's not dead, but it is dead as we know it, in the sense that it looks like we're not going to see the kinds of expansions we have seen before. And so let's take a look at what we know so far about the current state of Destiny. Obviously, when it comes to players, it's still doing fairly well. It is still one.
What do you say fairly well? 55k players is really good. It's really good. Destiny is a one-of-a-kind game. There's nothing that can go against it. It is its own thing. It's a genre in of itself. 50k players, good. Even if this dropped down to 30, that's still a good number of players.
One of those live services that continues to thrive in the way it draws in players. The reception surrounding it has been favorable across the board, but the recent layoffs has indicated that things are definitely not moving forward the way you might imagine. It definitely seems like they're downscaling operations for Destiny, despite Bungie having assured.
Wait. Who the young? Who here is thinking, oh, well, they're downscaling the team, they're firing a bunch of people, everything's gonna go great now. Who thought that, Young? How did you even think that anyone thought like that?
When Sony acquired Bungie that there'd be no layoffs all the way back in 2022. We saw layoffs happen in 2023 and most recently in 2024, the most recent round.
But isn't that Bungie doing the layoffs because they don't want Sony taking over?
Round of layoffs was announced on July 31st, 2024 via the following post where Bungie confirmed that 220 roles at Bungie would be eliminated following the success of the final shape. And we're already seeing in the comments here former Bungie employees calling for Pete Parsons, the CEO, to step down because his leadership has truly been across the board abysmal. Alongside the 220 who were laid off, 150.
I think the story writing for Destiny has been abysmal. I don't care about the leadership, whatever. The story writing has been abysmal. The message has been abysmal. There's a lot of things that you can complain about Destiny, but to blame the CEO for all of these troubles? No.
5 Bungie employees who were moved to work for Sony. And then alongside that, we've got around 40 people who were moved from Bungie to this new incubation team for a new studio under Sony to work on this new project. And along the way, we learned that CEO Pete Parsons, throughout the time between Sony's...
By the way, you know what this means? 200 people get laid off and 40 get taken to a new studio. That means out of these 200 people, only 20% had even any shred of talent to actually be placed somewhere else. Because when these big things happen and people are let go, you are not being let go if you have talent, if you're good at your job. So that means that roughly 80% of Bungie is useless garbage. Not actual workers, talentless hacks.
Under Sony to work on this new project. And along the way, we learned that CEO Pete Parsons, throughout the time between Sony's acquisition and now, throughout all the layoffs and all this talk about, just the finances not being able to support all these developers, we discovered that he spent over $2.3 million buying classic cars. The kind of money and the financial disparity between the CEO, who is, according to many developers, the cause of Bungie's rockier times, and whose leadership has been criticized tremendously by developers pretty much.
Well, if he's the guy who signed off at Sweet Baby Ink influence type of design in Bungie, yeah, then blame him. If he did not, well, it is what it is. He didn't make the story gay, probably.
Across the board, I can't think of anyone who's come to defend Pete Parsons' leadership. The fact that there's such a pay disparity between this guy who's...
By the way, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying blaming all on him. Oh, isn't that convenient?
Seems to be more of like a negative influence in the company compared to all the developers who made the game possible, who worked their asses off with pay that's less than ideal, and then, they were thrown away and cast aside when they were...
Yeah. I'm sure that employee who spent 4 out of 5 work days in the decompression chamber at work while taking 15 yoga courses and making a frichachi latte pucho micho and drinking it every single day. I'm sure that employee was so valuable. I'm sure the company is gonna collapse because he's gone. It's like Twitter. Elon Musk takes over, fires 90% of people, and then fires 90% of those 10% left. Nothing happens. Twitter's better than ever. That's what you get. Oh, the bloat in these companies is so huge.
Or no longer of use. It's just egregious. And so we've seen developers speak out across the board, folks within Bungie and even those outside, and there's plenty of art.
I have been in these situations in work. I have worked in places that have thousands of employees. You know what happens? The weak speak out. The weapon of the weak is speaking out. The weapon of the weak is creating collectives. The weapon of the weak, the only thing that the weak can do is try to guilt trip you into believing that they should stay. That is what the weak do. If you're a competent person here, these layoffs are going on, and you're just sitting there chilling, whistling, not paying too much attention to anything because you're fine and you know it because you're competent. There's a huge difference. Every person speaking out about this is either afraid that they're gonna be let go because they have made 52 frachi lachi matis in a single day in the office, or they just don't do any work, and now that they see that their friends who actually also don't do any work getting fired, they understand that they're next in the pipeline. Ain't that a tragedy?
Archives that highlight the disdain against Pete Parsons, people sharing their own stories and saying that they're digging into this and there's much more to share about Pete Parsons that we don't even know about in terms of his awful leadership, and then combined with situations like some people getting laid off right around the time when their maternity leave was supposed to begin, which just seems rather inhumane. But then alongside all that, there's been other developments that we
Hey, it is what it is.
Recently learned about, like, for example, Luke Smith out of nowhere just deactivated his Twitter, or not deactivated, but deleted everything. There's no profile picture, no banner here, no posts. He just kind of wiped his Twitter page completely. It's still accessible, but there's nothing here. He was the executive creative director for Destiny and Bungie. That is
so he decided that making a Lightfall was a good idea. So he decided that the current storyline of Bungie revolves around Osiris being extremely gay and sad that he can't find his boyfriend, and even he finds his boyfriend, he keeps being mopey and masculine. Great. I'm happy he's gone. That's a good thing.
Clearly no longer the case. This was indication that Luke Smith was no longer with the company, but we later got confirmation that this was indeed the case. And same goes for Mark Nosworthy, the VP
A Canadian.
of Destiny and who handled that aspect of Bungie, he has continued to maintain his Twitter page active, and he's posted some stuff since. But since it was confirmed that he was let go, and since all the layoffs happened, there was a gap where he just didn't post.
Wait. Let's see what is this. Emmy nomination for Best Animated Series, X-Men 97. Yeah, that's pretty good. The Simpsons, go away. Scavenger's Reign. Oh, I actually know about this. It's actually not that bad, and don't know what the hell this is. Of these three I've watched, of the three I've watched, it's Blue Eyes Samurai incredible.
Since all the layoffs happened, there was a gap where he just didn't post anything at all, but he started posting again recently. We eventually got secondhand confirmation that the two...
Also, is he a Minecraft character? Bruh. Steve's long-lost cousin returns, huh?
Recently. We eventually got secondhand confirmation that the big two, essentially, one more on the creative side of things with Luke Smith and one more on the business side of things with Mark Nosworthy, were in fact no longer with the company via Jeff Grubb's podcast here, the title of which reads, Does Destiny Have a Future? Published 4 days ago on August 1st, 2024. There, Jeff Grubb stated that Smith and Nosworthy were labeled as working on Payback, which is the code name for this Destiny spinoff that was in development before it was canceled. It was going to be the next big thing for Destiny, but not Destiny 3. One thing to note is that Destiny 3 was never in development, but they were working...
I'm confused. Currently, the big thing is supposed to be Marathon. So, you know, I have questions about this, and I don't understand them.
On something else that was Destiny related before its cancellation. Luke Smith and Mark Nosworthy are no longer at Bungie. They were let go. They were caught in the executive and leadership shakeup mentioned in the blog post. Payback has been shelved. Referring to the post here where they said, or where Pete Parsons posted that these actions, referring to the roles eliminated, will affect every level of the company, including most of our executive and...
By the way, why are people trying to act like, oh my god, these two people that got hired, now Bungie is gonna 100% collapse? Why? Do you think they're irreplaceable? What?
Senior leader roles. Among those who are caught up in this, it would seem as though were, in fact, Luke Smith and Mark Nosworthy, which a lot of people were shocked to see, given that so much of what Destiny is today is in large part.
Yeah, you see, that's the problem. The current Destiny is bad still on many fronts. While Lightfall can claim a victory, yes, Destiny still is bad in so many fronts. These people are arguably, if you want to blame leadership, then actually, then these are also people. By the way, I completely am incapable of understanding well, there's no logic in what Young says, but so the CEO is bad because he's the CEO, right? But these people who are directly below the CEO and responsible for managing different departments in Destiny, they're some magically how the good guys? I'm so confused with this all CEOs are bad thing. It just doesn't make sense. This CEO is bad and this CEO is good. If the company succeeds, it's the work of the people making the game, not the CEO. If the company fails, it's the CEO's fault, not the people making the game. Make it make sense.
Reached out to sources and they clarified some details, saying that Smith and Nosworthy's departure came as the Payback project was shut down, after which executive restructuring meant they had no path forward at Bungie. Jeff Grubb also made it a point to clarify that they were not necessarily laid off, but they essentially left due to the leadership restructuring at Bungie. Basically, there was just no place for them anymore.
Yeah, that's the same as being laid off, technically, almost.
Because Destiny in general was just winding down, and it was just better for them to move on. And so seeing all this, the perception that it generated for a lot of Destiny fans is that Destiny was basically dead, that Destiny just, had its final big hurrah with the final shape, and then from then on, it would just no longer be that big of a focus. Destiny Nostalgia, for example, tweeted, Destiny 2 no longer getting expanded.
There is no world where Destiny doesn't get continued upon, okay? successful games get squeezed until you're bleeding rock. And, well, Destiny has not been squeezed to that point, so there's a lot more squeezing to be done.
Mentions Destiny 3 no longer in development. It has quite literally never been more over than it is now.
Also, this could be a marketing ploy, in my opinion. Saying, okay, Destiny 2 is ending, but we have no plans for Destiny 3. Then Destiny starts to whimper away. People are like, I want Destiny so much. And, you know, after a year, they're like, Destiny 3, boys, let's have it. And it's like, oh my god, yay! 15 LGBTQ storylines for you to explore. Half of them end in self-deletion, but that's fine.
For Destiny, and this got millions of views and tens of thousands of likes. But again, it's important to note Destiny 3 was never in development. This other project that was codenamed Payback, it's almost like a spin-off. It's not Destiny 3. So that's something to note. And it's not that Destiny 2 is no longer getting any content ever again. It's just no longer getting those large-scale expansions. Jeff Grubb kind of delved into this, and Forbes transcribed what was said in that podcast. Grubb says that Bungie will move away from its current content format with no more large-scale expansions. They're not even using the word expansion internally anymore, referring to new drops as content packs. A separate, unconfirmed leak outside of this says the yearly plan is now 2 content packs and 2...
By the way, I actually had a prediction right about this, and it got confirmed exactly the day that I released the last Destiny video, and it was about the fact that they need to get rid of the expansions that you need to buy. For spending 400 USD on a free game so I can play it? No, thank you. I'm not doing that. No one is. It's such an absolute turnoff, okay? Imagine you start playing Destiny for free and then you like it and then you look and you're like, oh, I need to spend $400 on this free game. Yeah, no, thank you. I'd better quit. Yeah, that's what I would do, honestly. And I said that this is a huge problem. They should get rid of the expansion things. And it seems like that's what they're gonna do. There's gonna be like an official box price or something like that now, and then it's just gonna be content drops, and this is how it's gonna work. And I think that's good. Does that actually mean that Destiny 2 is officially ending? I'm not even convinced about that.
Seasons and no more weekly story time gates. And then there's additional details about Sony wanting to assume direct control of Bungie, it no longer being its own autonomous entity under Sony, but rather it being under the purview of SIE's CEO Herman Hulst. So we're seeing Sony sort of start to take over and take Bungie in the direction that they deem
SEIE is, by the way, Sony Interactive Entertainment.
Fit for the company. For better or for worse, I guess we'll see what happens with the launch of like Marathon and other projects that they have going on. Apparently, a big part of why this restructuring is happening is because Sony, now they believe they overpaid for Bungie, and Bungie delivered less than what Bungie's leadership said they could deliver to Sony. And so they're trying to pivot in ways to make Bungie more profitable for the company. So, for example, the Lightfall expansion, that apparently had a 45% revenue miss.
Damn right, Lightfall was the most gay Bungie ever was.
When it came out, and that revenue miss was in part what...
No, seriously, if you don't know what Lightfall is, let me just show you. Lightfall Destiny 2. Let's see. Okay, Lightfall Destiny 2, let's go. Okay. Yeah, well, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Okay, wait a minute, I'm switching scenes. Lightfall Destiny 2. Here we go. Okay, see that's Lightfall. That's Lightfall. This is probably the best look. Here's more Lightfall for you if you want, okay? Look at that, that's so amazing. And yes, and yes, this is extremely accurate. This is Lightfall. This is Destiny 2 in a pretty big nutshell, honestly. Hey, it is what it is, boys. It is what it is.
Instigated the 2013 round of layoffs. And then when it comes to the final shape, apparently, while it wasn't unsuccessful, it didn't reach the expectations that the corporate heads had. Sources apparently say that the final shape, which was a big hit critically among critics and fans, it was outsold by Lightfall, at least within its launch window. The
Yeah, we knew this from the estimations.
Expectation is that every new
And I said, and people, I said that it doesn't look like Final Shape can actually manage to get the sales that it needs. Okay? I said that the Final Shape may actually be a failure, even if it is critically well received, because it seems like people have given up on Destiny on a wider margin than expected. And people were saying to me, "Oh no, you're an idiot. Oh, this is gonna age like milk." Here we are, boys, right yet again. It is what it is.
expansion will significantly outsell the previous one, showing a certain level of growth. But the Final Shape apparently, like in terms of its pacing of sales, was even slower than that of Lightfall's, at least within the launch window short.
Bro, saying that your sales are worse than Lightfall is insane, because Lightfall is known to be the worst expansion ever, content-wise. So, and it was visible, obviously, to everyone. Again, okay? So, the thing is, I talked about this. This is the same situation that World of Warcraft is in currently, even, okay? Listen. So, you can't be a game publisher with established franchise and run it into the ground for 5 years the goddamn row and then release one good expansion and be like, oh, everyone's gonna... No one comes back. This happened with World of Warcraft. Dragonflight was a success. People liked it. It was interesting. People are not complaining too much about it. You know, it has minor issues, but everything has minor issues at the day. Overall, a huge success, exactly as the Final Shape. But after so many years of failure, and disappointment, people are not willing to go back. Okay? You can't just have one good expansion save 5 years of devastation. That's not how it works. Now Destiny needs probably 2 or 3 good expansions in a row so people start coming back and really actually think that Destiny is back. And what are the chances that Bungie can pull off, well, you want to call it expansions, you want to call it content packs, what are the chances that Bungie can actually make 4 successful things in a row? 0. So, bad. They're fucked.
Term, and that generated concerns. Though Forbes notes here that there was likely no level of success that could have been reached to avoid what's currently happening based on long-running problems within Bungie. So it seemed as though there was just a lot of managerial aspects to Bungie that has been building up over time, and the Final Shape being mega successful wouldn't have fixed those things. So all of this, what's happening right now with Bungie, would have on some level been inevitable anyways. Jason Schreier also confirmed that every expansion has kind of sold less and less with every new
Yeah, exactly.
release, as outlined.
Exactly as I said this happens. You can't really shit and hope people just buy it constantly. You can't sprinkle a sprinkle on shit and say that it's not it anymore.
Here by Forbes compilation of information we have about this whole situation. Jason Schreier said in his article that each expansion has sold less than the previous one for a while, so they're not doing paid expansions now. He also provided details about what Payback was supposed to be. It was not supposed to be like Destiny at all. In fact, it was primarily a third-person game featuring co-op play and solving puzzles with characters from the franchise, more akin to Warframe and Genshin Impact. So definitely something more off-kilter, but within the IP that they were hoping would kind of spark new interest in the brand as a whole.
Okay.
But they decided that it was just not worth the financial.
I mean, at this point, what Project Payback is or was, is just... It changes almost every week what it's supposed to be is or was.
Investment. And then in an additional article, Paul Tassi from Forbes decided to kind of take his time, talk to some sources, and relay further information about future plans for Destiny. So apparently the plan is to release 2 content packs per year. One content pack that is bigger in content additions, but not quite expansion sized, that may or may not be free. It may be like sort of cheaper expansions, essentially, that's less in scale, that's smaller in scale, but apparently there's no confirmation as
Cheaper doesn't work here. Young, if you had a brain, you would figure it out. If they're struggling for money, if Bungie's still gonna be in, in actually the director's seat and Sony does not take over, That means that Bungie is going to try and get all the money that they can. AKA, these content packs are going to combinedly cost more than an actual expansion. That's how it always works.
To whether that's going to be paid or not, but at the very least, the second content pack within a given year that's going to be smaller additions, that will end up being free. And the hope is to at least give the players
Interesting. There's no way this is true.
some kind of excuse to come back and do some activities and hopefully spend on microtransactions to be able to at least maintain the game. And between those content packs, they might have little bite-sized bits of like...
Everyone is really just acting like Destiny is gonna go anywhere. It's a strong IP that has survived for a very long time and is one of the more successful games out there. Destiny is only leaving in a body bag. Destiny is only stopping when there's 5 people playing it and they don't buy microtransactions, okay? Man. It's interesting to see what's going to happen in the future, but for now...
right here on Young. Yeah. I'll see you guys next time.
Young out. Beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, bye-bye.